another D-Link webinar. We're here today, very excited to talk to you about Nuclias Unity. I can say that on the second attempt. It is our new cloud platform, and we're happy to bring it to you today, talk you through the platform, let you know where you can access the site from, and then go through the download center. So without further ado, let's get the webinar started. I just get there. So Nuclias Unity is our it's our cloud platform, and the difference from Nuclias Cloud is very exciting because it is accessible on the current range of products. So what we're doing at the moment is basically adding together, because there's so many different firmware versions, so many different access points, so many different D-Link switches. We're in the process of adding them all to Nuclias Unity. But the main difference is that Nuclias Cloud had specific products developed for it, but Nuclias Unity works with the existing product base. So giving you a choice between Nuclias Unity, the cloud-based solution, or Nuclias Connect, which we're not going to talk about today, but that is that's the controller solution there. So, Mark, do you want to do a quick intro into adding in a little bit? Sorry, I forgot to introduce with us today. We've got Mark Carty, our salesman, who's always on the webinar, and we've got Steve Reddy, who is our FAE executive. Job titles are obviously, strange, but Steve is Steve is a super technical guru, so he's here to help us today to talk through this new solution.
Hi there all. I think Alan covered it all pretty much in his introduction. So Nuclias Unity is D-Link's second generation of cloud management platform, and what the idea about this is giving our customers that are using some of our existing products and existing solutions a little bit more flexibility on how they manage and how they can manage their networks or their customers' installations. What's the advantage of bringing existing products and that into the cloud is that you can manage organizations at a high level. You can monitor the access points and the switches to see what's going on within that particular network. And then we can configure, so if it's, for example, PoE scheduling, if it's about configuring individual switches or access points, and then you can see what's going on, form alerts and all that sort of good things. And so this is what Nuclias Unity would do. As Alan mentioned as well, the differences between the cloud and Unity. So Nuclias Cloud, we had a dedicated range of products. With Nuclias Unity, we're bringing some of them existing products, giving you guys a wider range of what's available. So we'll be adding things like multi-gigabit switches to this. We'll be adding things like 10 gigabit PoE, as well as supporting our traditional 1 gigabit smart managed switches, all that sort of stuff. But we'll go over that in a bit.
Yeah, the beauty of this is with it working for the existing portfolio, for a lot of our resellers, it can be an upsell opportunity for them to go back in once we get especially once we get the Pro and the MSP license situation in place. It can be an upsell for any existing sort of D-Link networking.
Yeah, correct. So it's just about adding on a little bit more functionality for what the installation may or may not require.
Yeah, and I think I'll also add as well is that it adds a little bit of simplification to for smaller networks as well. If you've only got a couple of switches, a couple of access points, it's a single pane to manage the devices quickly and easily with profiles. If you haven't got a terribly complex network, it makes it a lot easier to deploy.
Yeah, and use the app, which you'll see later on.
Yeah,
I've already ruined the presentation, but I like doing that because that's my plan. So Nuclias Unity is based on the 5 core pillars. For CAPS is probably the best way to you can make up your own acronym here, but it's built on fault management, account management, security management, configuration management, and performance management. And what Nuclias Unity does is it allows you to see all of those from a single pane view. which is what D-Link's previous solutions were based around. But this is the core pillar that underpins. And what we try to do is make everything on Nuclias Unity as simple as possible, so that you can manage and configure everything about the solution from the one single view. If we move on, and then I'll bring the guys back in here, because we're talking about the timelines here for Nuclias Unity. So obviously we've gone to market at the end of March there with a list of products that should be working. And then we have a further list in September where we're going to be adding more existing portfolio to Nuclias Unity. And then there is a planning stage to add in a new range of IP cameras. Get ready for the webinar on that coming soon. And then also the existing DBRs. So the DBR models, we did the webinar a few months back. They are the small business routers. So under the guise of Nuclias Soho, they will also be added into the solution. So this really is the one cloud platform that's going to cover most of D-Link's portfolio.
Yeah, I think it's important to have a look at we've got core switches that are currently supported. So in version 1 of this, launched at the end of March, or launched now, out now. We've got the DXS 3610, so they are our core 10 gigabit switches. And then we have things like the DMS and the DGS 3130s. So that's the 1 gigabit, multi-gigabit layer 3 managed switch options. And then we have all of our different smart products listed down the side there. And it just gives you guys, or it gives our customers, a very good base to work from in terms of the products that are available, in terms of the products that are listed or compatible with Unity at the moment. And then if we have a look at on the access point models that are supported on version 1.0, we've got the Wi-Fi 7 and Wi-Fi 6 access points in the DAP series there. So there is some good variety of products, some good variation of the different switches there. And we're not stopping there. So come a little bit later in the year for 2.0, we're going to be looking at getting the DGS 3630 series, again, a very powerful bunch of layer 3 managed switches on there. We're looking at getting the DXS 3410 series added, 10 gigabit layer 3 managed switches, that's a smaller 24 port in counts. Then we're looking at getting at the 1510s, 20s and 30 series, so they are our stackable smart products on there, as well as supporting some of the other new products that are coming. So the DXS 1250 series, which are going to be 10 gigabit smart switches. So we've got lots of different products on the platform currently, and we've got more to add for the near future. Yeah. And I think looking at the near future, it's quite excited, we're quite excited of what we've got to be added.
We are waiting to see when the new Wi-Fi 7 access points, because we've noticed that the DAP E9560 is on there, but we are expecting that the 2x2 range of access points, which will also be in a webinar coming to a screen near you soon, to be added in to the system as well. So we've got the big 4x4 access point, and then we'll get the 2x2s added in as well, giving you that choice. So there's 3 different models in that range, but watch that space, and we'll talk about that more in the future. But an exciting lineup, and by September we should have most of the portfolio added and by then we'll also have more dates around when we can expect the cameras and other devices to be added to Nuclias Unity. So looking at the dashboard, I think Steve, you're the best person to kind of go through what happens when you first log into Nuclias Unity, what you can see when you first log in on that main screen.
Well, the example here, we've got obviously all of our devices which are listed. Everything's consolidated into one quick dashboard. You can see all the devices that are online, offline. You've got your navigation pane on the left-hand side. You also can see things like bandwidth usage, client usage, and on the top right corner, you can also customize your widgets. So if you think it's too cluttered, or you're not interested in certain features, you only want to see, so for example, bandwidth usage, you can only select that option, or you can have all of them. It's up to you. You can customize it how you want. And you can also quickly and easily switch between different orgs if you've got multiple organizations and multiple sites as well. So you can quickly switch between sites and see what's going on.
That's perfect for MSPs, isn't it? That's what they really want, because they don't want to be logging into different systems, changing accounts or whatever to see that. The ability to switch between your MSP base is a real plus for guys like that. So I mean, that's what the screen looks like. It's all fairly clean and a nice interface. Your normal navigation bars down the side there, you can see, and some quick drop downs.
One of the things I want to highlight as well, which I really like, is you can see the CPU and memory utilization and the PoE budget as well. So for example, if your switch is approaching the PoE budget, you can monitor that, get ahead of problems before they occur. And the same thing, if one of your switches or access points is running a little bit high in CPU or memory, you can go and check it out.
I do that with my graphics card on my home machine when I'm pushing it far too much by expecting far too much from it. So again, network topology with the device panel. So this will give you a quick overview. It's a basic graphics overview of your base, and you can see there in the little pop-up there I mean, I'll take it, Steve, that's telling us what each port is doing.
Exactly, what's connected, whether it's active or not, on whether there's PoE on it or not, and obviously what link speed it's connected in as well.
It's a nice little graphical interface there. You can quickly and easily see what each port is doing. So you've got your fast Ethernet ports in orange and your 10 gigabit ports in green. I mean, this is clearly a made-up model, isn't it? Because it's got fast Ethernet and 10 gigabit at the same time.
But it's ports on there.
I mean, that's absolutely
for illustrative
purposes. All the different colors, all the different options on there. So, and as Steve said there, CPU utilization, memory utilization, power, PoE power usage. That gives you that quick health check data to hand that you can have a look at, and the ability to check whether you're on the latest firmware as well, because that's always really important with security releases.
Absolutely,
keeping everything up to date. So yeah, looks great. I'm really impressed with that. So Wi-Fi Planner Pro. I mean, Mark, you've used Wi-Fi Planner a lot with your customers. If you can talk about the importance of this from a sort of sales aspect.
With Nuclias Unity, we've decided to build in the Wi-Fi Planner Pro. And what this is an application, it's a piece of software that's built into Unity, and you can essentially upload floor plans and help visualize a Wi-Fi deployment. Why is that keen, or why is that good? It's just essentially a tool to help yourself with the planning, with the expansion of your Wi-Fi network, work out where dead spots would occur, work out where a Wi-Fi network may be oversaturated, and it just allows you to just make planning that side of the deployment easier. Handy for things like educational customers, handy for office-based businesses, but also it's just handy to keep a track of what you're trying to do.
It's a great way to visualize your heat maps and just get ahead of the game, really. And the great thing is, I'm not sure if you've seen how expensive some Wi-Fi site survey tools have become, and of course this is included in Nuclias Unity, so you can upload your floor plans and get started straight away.
Some very famous ones. I've seen quotes on Google are now fairly expensive.
Very expensive.
Yeah. Because the important part of this is obviously this takes into account all of those things that block out Wi-Fi signals, such as glass walls.
Just going to come to
that can interfere.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if because I talked about this when we previously talked about the Wi-Fi Planner Pro. How does it work in, like, if you're in a warehouse type environment where you've got a very high ceiling and obviously the signal doesn't bounce back down as well? So
it doesn't take into account heights of locations. It takes into account that an access point, for example, is going to be placed 2 to 3 meters tall. Right. But
so it's office based, really not.
It's not a fully fledged site survey tool, and we'd still recommend a site survey. But again, it is still a great way to get a good idea, visualize what sort of heat maps you're expected to see before you deploy.
Yeah, it's great for a basis, isn't it? And then you get the professional out to come.
Yeah, it just allows you to help build a rough plan, an idea, a base of what you're looking to do.
How many access points you need? What density of those access points you need? Because you can see on here you've got the two big big DAP E9560s, the 4x4 Wi-Fi 7s, and then in the main part of the office, you've got a 3660. So that's just a 2x2 version. So you're probably saving yourself a little bit of money here by having the two high densities on the outside and then a smaller one in the middle, even if that's where most of the people are, because it's covering still good enough coverage for that sort of area. Yeah. That one doesn't have any walls to contend with. So
yeah, I mean, if there's any questions that come up on the Wi-Fi Planner Pro, or if you need a hand using it, I've used it to help a lot of my customers formulate Wi-Fi heat maps and things like that. I'm happy to spend a bit of time with anybody that wants to learn about this. So please just get in touch with me, and I'm quite happy to show you to use it.
Brilliant. You've just volunteered there, Mark. So UKI-sales at dlink.com, FAO Mark. Configuration management. So obviously one of the major parts that we were talking about before, one of the major pillars that this built on is the configurations management aspect. So Nuclias Unity, as you would expect, inbuilt device provisioning. So we're going to try and make provisioning devices as quick and easy as possible. I'm going to skip the next one, but go through AP configurations. So configure, build captive portals, and all of those bits are built in very, very to make it such a very seamless operation, as with switch configuration and centralized management. Then we have a few things that are scheduled down the line. So Wi-Fi PoE firmware reboots on schedule. That will be coming in version 2.0. Rate limit, IP and MAC filters will be coming in September, as well as quality of service and access policy, and also building your captive portal login page, so customized with your brand there. Anything to add on that, guys? I've just covered it through very quickly.
Yeah, and again, the goal of this is to simplify deployments, because obviously if you've got multiple access points, multiple switches, configuring each one individually can be a chore. It really can. And the idea behind it is you have a profile and you can just deploy that to all of your adopted devices and just simplify things. So if you need to make a change on a switch port, you want to add a VLAN trunk or anything, just one profile, one click, job done.
Yeah. The important part about this is relating back to what we talked about a couple of slides ago. Make sure your firmware is all up to date, because Nuclias Unity is kind of like configured to work with the latest firmwares. So if you're expecting one-click provision but your firmware's out of date, you're going to have a little delay there. So just before you download Nuclias Unity, try and make sure your firmware and everything's up to date, and it will be a much smoother process. Multiple Wi-Fi networks. Mark, do you want to jump in on this one about the importance of creating multiple SSIDs?
Yeah, so some customers, when they implement large-scale Wi-Fi networks, they require to create a Wi-Fi network within a Wi-Fi network, what we call an SSID. This could be for guest access, so segregating different users. This could be for different applications or different hardware within an installation. So think of a warehouse, for example. You might want an SSID for hand scanners, and then you get the different users that will be, watching social media or streaming services in their sort of lunch break on the guest network. Within schools, it's pretty much the same. So you could get the students on one SSID and give them priority to certain traffic or certain levels of information, but block things like social media, whereas all the staff, they can get free access to whatever they want. So that's what an SSID is for.
And again, from this particular pane here, which is what it looks like in the platform itself, is easily enough to you can click one button, create a new SSID or create new wireless network, assign it the VLAN ID that you want, and it's just created and it'll push automatically to all your access points. There's no additional configuration needed. It's just one page, very simple, done.
Yeah, it looks so simple to set up there. One of the things I always talk about on the consumer webinars we do is that when you do a scan of consumer networks, people rarely change the names of their SSIDs and rarely set up guest networks. And it's one of my bugbears that we need to get people increasing their security at home. But you can see here, like 7 or 8 different SSIDs all set up, so you can have all your devices on different SSIDs and working with different access to different information and different websites, which is great. Port management with profiles. Steve, you're the port management guy.
But again, yes, as we touched on just a moment ago, it's a similar idea to the SSID. If you've got a bunch of switches, say for example, you've got 2 or 3 DMS 1250s and they're linked together, and you want to deploy a trunk port across all of them with certain VLANs, whether access ports or trunk ports. Again, you can set up a profile for that. You can select the type of switch model you want to deploy it to, and with one click, it's deployed, and it'll configure those switches for you. And it's just nice and easy.
Perfect. That sounds great.
And again, it's the same things for PoE as well. You can also link state. You can disable it, enable it. You can also turn the port on and off as well. So if you've got a rogue device, you could quickly just say, right, disable those ports.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't have to go into the switch itself to do that. You can just do it simply from that menu.
Perfect. General switch configuration. So this is another slide that you'll come into. I think you can see there you've got. Forgive me if I'm wrong here, but are they all different switches, or is this just a rundown of the ports on each switch here?
No, so there's different switches and different ports. So you can group your switches. For example, if you've got a different range of switches, you can group them together. But also you can go onto individuals and configure them accordingly.
Right. Okay. So this is just another example of just how much is available through Nuclias Unity, and another page that enables you to very quickly see the information.
Exactly.
On everything.
So this is individial switch configuration. The previous slide was you can deploy configure all of them with a profile.
Yes. Yes. So this is
so you have either or.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic. Tunnel access. This was something that Phil, who couldn't be with us today, was very keen to talk about, because this, I think, is one of the more important parts of the Nuclias Unity. So
yeah, so the 3130 series, obviously they're more high-end layer 3 switches, and the importance here is you might need to do some additional higher level configuration outside of the Unity platform. And this is where tunnel access comes in. So you can remote to the device in question, and you can either access the CLI or the web GUI, and then you can get into the nitty gritty if you need to do additional configuration outside of the platform. So it still gives you that access without having to physically go to the switch.
Yeah. And on that point, we're now going to bring up the Nuclias Unity proxy. So what we've developed as a solution is the Unity proxy, which is a piece of software that you can download. And what that will do is that will sit on your system, and it will allow you to manage your core switches. As Steve just said, it's related back to the previous slide. So the Unity proxy is just a very, very simple download, and just to enable the core switches to be added to Unity to be managed.
The additional benefit of Unity proxy as well is if you don't want to use the app to discover your devices, you can use proxy as well. So if you have that running on a Windows 10 or above PC that's in your lab or your network, leave it running, and then you can use that probe to discover additional devices when you bring them on board. So if you don't want to give an app access to any one particular individual, you can simply use the probe to do that.
Perfect. Just a very simple software download available on the D-Link website. So just download that if you've got any of the core switches to add to the software before you start. Network management. So the next core that Nuclias Unity is built on is basically revolves around the visibility of devices and the resource usage, which Steve mentioned earlier was one of the best parts that he likes about Nuclias Unity, especially with the ease of accessing the data. So it's very quick and easy for you to look at device lists, client behavior analysis, client traffic history, and power and resource utilization, that PoE utilization we mentioned earlier. What will be coming soon in September in the version 2.0 is data-driven decisions, which is a little bit more complicated, but that will basically generate for you a report which will analyze all of the parts of your network that will allow you to better plan, analyze, identify, look at traffic sources, and very quickly diagnose any faults in your network. So just helping you out with all of that bits and bobs. Right? So,
yeah. And again, as we said earlier, all of this is contained on the dashboard as soon as you log in. So you haven't got to go hunting for it. It's right there at your fingertips.
Perfect. And yeah, all there to help you manage your network quickly and make quick decisions to make sure everything stays up and running nicely. We mentioned briefly earlier, the app. So Nuclias Unity has its own app for iOS or Android, available on both the Google Play Store and the Apple Store. It's very, very simple. Download the app and then you can log into your account, select the organization to which you're attached to. We'll find the devices for you, go through the provisioning exercise, and you can either do it through the app or log in via your computer and to configure the app. Am I right here, Steve? It's saying you can't do the configuration on the app. You have to...
No, yeah. So the app is just for device discovery and adoption.
Right. Okay.
But again, as we said with proxy, you can also use that for adoption, for discovery and adoption as well.
Right.
But if you prefer to use an app, you've installed a device, quickly and simply adopt it, and then you can manage it all in your portal.
Perfect. So the app's a great way to do that, provisioning everything out there from the network, but you still probably need the desktop to manage and configure everything from that point. So very useful app there for you. So this is a screenshot of the app talking about device provisioning. So what this page will show you is, and we talked through this earlier, is alarms. So if anything is going wrong on your network at the moment, you'll get a critical view list. So you can see the status of firmware updates, the status of the device itself, and any port errors. You can see on the screen there, the access point has an error on it at the moment, flagged up to you on the screen so that you can quickly go in and diagnose that error. And as we touched on as well, it will show the device information such as memory usage, firmware, location, etc., on that, so you can quickly identify which access point it is, and then use that to diagnose the issue there. So.
Well, another great tool here as well is if you've got a lot of APs, for example, in your deployment, and you're not sure which one it is, there's a button within this menu that allows you to identify, and it'll start blinking all of the LEDs for a short period, so you can quickly identify, right, that's the problematic AP, let's get that swapped out.
Perfect. Okay. Power and resource utilization. So as we talked about earlier, the very quick view of the power consumption of PoE and of the switches themselves, and will give you so basically alert you to any issues, because obviously if you've got 100% CPU usage of the switch constantly, then
you might have a faulty switch, or you might have some problematic.
Yeah. So just another screen here which will very quickly bring you any potential issues, any potential flags, before that network error can occur. So a nice early warning system available there. Okay. Moving on. Performance management. So the next pillar on which Nuclias Unity is built is performance management. So we've got their Wi-Fi channel utilization. So that will look at the distribution of traffic across your active APs, allow you to balance the network load more efficiently. You've got capacity planning, client signal health, client distribution, and bottleneck information. So if you've done your Wi-Fi Planner Pro, obviously you can probably limit the needs for this kind of stuff. But obviously your office situation will change. You might have a lot of new starters come in, and they're all sat within the area of one AP, which you've got a 2x2 AP, but your 4x4 AP is sat on the side there with barely nobody connected to it at the same time. So it would just be a simple case of just switching the two over there. So
yeah, I mean, it's got good granularity. I mean, you can even go down and drill down into the individual RSSI threshold of a particular client device. So if someone's complaining of weak signal, you say, okay, where are you sitting, or what location are you in? Actually, yes, you have got poor signal in that area. We can see that from your client RSSI, and we can maybe move an AP into a better location, or we'll also rejig the network a little bit to cover those dead spots.
Perfect. Okay. Bottleneck identification. So I think we've basically talked through this kind of stuff before, but this relates to the last one. So we were identifying where most of the traffic is flowing through the network. I mean, in this case, it's quite strange because most traffic is actually flowing through the lowest spec switch on the list there. So you've got 185 gig flowing through the 1210, and then your big beast of a DXS 1210 has only got 9.6, so that's unlikely to be. And then your top traffic by access points, which would be highlighted by what I said earlier, where potentially you might have putting a lower spec access point in a very high traffic area, and your high spec access point is in a low traffic area, so you probably want to switch those kind of over. And then you've got the identification of who is using the top 5 SSIDs. So if you have a look at those and your guest network has got most of the traffic on, then you might want to check that your people aren't browsing Facebook or doing whatever, but not trying to do it off of the main office network. So yeah, so just an identification there, and just another handy tool to let you know how the network's doing, and potentially move anything around or rejig or have a look at the traffic in more detail. Capacity planning and Wi-Fi channel utilizations. Mark, we haven't talked to you for a little while. But do you want to just jump in on this and come in and talk about how Nuclias Unity will help you better plan with regards to times of day?
Yeah, so essentially with Wi-Fi channel utilization, you can tell certain devices use certain frequencies and bands and different what we call channels, and you can go through and manually choose what channels you want the devices to connect to. So if it's a 2.4 gigahertz device, so for example, your smart plugs or some of these slower devices, you can ask the Wi-Fi access point to only connect to certain channels to try and free up other areas. Things like your 6 gigahertz and your 5 gigahertz bands are generally faster in speed, and you want to reserve them for things like your laptops, your gaming machines, your PCs, or anything like that. And you can be very specific in terms of the channels that you want them on. It just helps, as we call it, to clear the air, essentially, and to try and plan your Wi-Fi network a bit better.
Yeah, from what I'm seeing from this screen print here, would this suggest that they have 8 devices connected to 2.4 gigahertz channel, or am I reading that incorrectly? Just so people can understand what this is.
No, that's your throughput. They'll blink and down.
That's the throughput, right? Brilliant.
So, for example, you might see it like, I don't know, it's a midday, for example, lunchtime. Everybody's browsing the web on the guest network, and you might have a huge traffic demand at that point.
Perfect.
But then later in the day, it might tail off, for example. And again, for your channel utilization, you might think, okay, well, the 2.4 is super congested where I am, so I'll move to 5, or vice versa. If this 5 gigahertz is congested, I might move some people to 2.4. Yeah.
I'm going to say this is a fairly dedicated workforce, because they seem to work through the night. So
yes,
fairly dedicated workforce. I don't think you'd see that on our traffic network here at D-Link, but we're always here for you. Next pillar is security management. God, security. We talk about security all the time. We push it, and we try our very best to be at the forefront with WPA3 and any other standard that we can get into. So what we've got built into Nuclias Unity is for login and authentication. Obviously, we've got 2-factor authentication. We've got capture blocks and auto logouts on sessions for those that have timed out. Privilege controls, we'll talk about that in the next slide, so we'll skip over that for now. A system audit, which is always useful for you to review and have a look through. Secure communications channel, encrypted over real time. And then coming in version 2.0, the captive portal authentication. So that will be integrated within your captive portal, and will just give you that extra bit of security in place to make sure that everything's in line for any log-ons to the system. Privilege control. Mark or Steve, do you want to jump in and talk about this? I know you've both been very active on Nuclias Unity and set up a number of accounts. So,
well, again, it's the traditional way of allocating privileges to certain members in your organization. So obviously you've got your super admin who's got full control of everything.
Yep.
You've then got your general admin who might be able to do anything on an org and site level only. And then you've just got your viewer. So if you've just got some help desk guys who want to have a look at what's going on, people reporting problems, give your help desk viewer the privileges, and then they can escalate that up to second line and accordingly if need be.
Perfect. And that applies to the scope control, which is regards to the organization. So you can give a person access to, if you're managing 3 sites, you can give one person access to site A, but no access to site B.
Absolutely.
Site C.
So if you've got multiple teams in multiple locations, yeah, exactly. You can, or if you, yeah, exactly that.
Perfect. Well, God, it's so easy.
Yeah,
I'm gonna definitely be using it. Sorry, this is a Steve slide. Secure communications, and we tried to make this slide a little bit more simple because it was very complicated. But Steve's going to explain it so that everyone.
Yeah, I won't bore everybody with the details, but essentially it's just highlighting that we use WebSocket over SSL between the devices and the controller, and then from the web server to Nuclias Unity, they're encrypted HTTPS requests. So very straightforward.
Perfect.
Just to give everyone peace of mind that it is a fully end-to-end secure system.
Yeah, that's what's important, isn't it? Everybody trusts and everybody knows that everything's going to be safe running through the system.
Exactly.
Okay. So before I pull the curtains down on the presentation, because we've probably kept you for long enough, I'm just going to whiz over here the Nuclias Resource Center. Just to highlight this to you guys. So it's available through the business for business, and then there's the Nuclias option. You can come into Nuclias Unity and then come into the resource center. I would have done it live, but as you know, the internet will probably crap out on me and not load in when I'm live on a webinar. In here, you'll find our getting started guide, user manuals, white paper support lists. And then there's also a contact us here, so you can send an email to the team and we'll get back to you within 48 hours for any info.
There's also some really useful video tutorials on getting started and how to use the system as well if you're not familiar.
Yeah, so I was going to click into that. I'm risking it and I'm doing it live on the webinar. So tutorial videos, getting started, management configuration. They're all up on the D-Link UK&I YouTube channel as well, because I put them there myself. And this is just a quick look through the start guide here. So talk you through everything, how to add an organization, links, all sorts of stuff. And then there is for your guys' reference, for any of your customers, there is a white paper on why to use Nuclias Unity, and it's pretty good, and it talks through the needs and everything that Nuclias Unity will do for you. So that's available. That's all up on the system now, and they're ready to go. And if I risk it again, I will click back to Nuclias Unity, and then you can basically go on the page here. You can see a full product list, the product list that I talked through earlier. Just a quick brief run through, and then down here at the bottom, you can download the app. You scan the QR code, click the link to get through to the App Store for it. And also, as we mentioned, download the proxy software. So it's a very simple one-click download for the device there. So, okay, if I can get back to the presentation. Yeah, seamless.
Smooth.
So, safe. Thanks to everybody and for listening. I apologize for the bright pink background, but sometimes you got to show a bit of flair and a bit of color, as it were. If anybody's got any questions, we do have a question from our good friend Levitt Communications. So this will be directed towards Mark. And Paul is asking, will current Nuclias customers be visible on this dashboard?
If I'm assuming Paul is on about Nuclias Cloud customers, no. So we would need to, as it's a different platform, as it's a brand new platform compared to Nuclias Cloud, the Nuclias Unity and Nuclias Cloud products need to be treated separately.
Yeah, Nuclias Cloud products aren't compatible with Nuclias Unity. Yeah, so that won't be available. You will be able to see, obviously, all of your Unity customers on there, just not those that are currently on clouds. So while we're here, while I'm doing it, if anybody does have any questions, you can just drop them into the chat quickly. I'm just going to wrap up the webinar here. If you can't get your question in now, contact information on the screen there. UKI-sales@dealing.com is the best place to get hold of us. If you do want to chat live, you can just go on to the dealing.com website, and you'll see the live chat. Mark is very often manning the live chat, or one of our other salespeople here will be on there, and they will be very keen and happy to help you out. So guys, anything to add before we wrap up the webinar?
No, nothing from us, but thank you very much for listening to us for the last half an hour, 45 minutes. As Alan said earlier, I mean, get in touch if you've got some questions. We are more than happy to help. We're more than happy to advise, and we're more than happy to run through this again with you if needs be.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And any feedback that you get from using Unity, please feel free to send it through, and we will obviously supply that to HQ, and that will be included in any further builds that we do moving forward. Any features you'd like to see, or anything that you think that could be done better on Nuclias Unity, just let us know on the live chat or on the email address below. Thanks very much for joining us. We'll see you again soon. We're looking to do another 5G webinar in a couple of weeks, and then after that, TBC. So thanks to everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.